Yeah,
trying to make your team better and, not to cherish those picks. If you can get a player where you want him, trade up to get him, make your team better, and worry about the rest next year.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you on that too. That was always, that's why I love baseball so much. A lot of guys are always changing teams, and when it comes to draft day, I mean, I guess maybe for the fan that, just the casual NFL fan, you don't realize how much the draft really matters to how, your team's success in that same year, where these guys can come in there and make an immediate impact. And if you don't know what the hell you're doing, you wind up being the Bears. You know what I mean? Where the Bears have struggled, and they've gone through and added through free agency a million different ways. But these guys can make a direct effect if you get the right guy at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now, where can we find you? Like I said, we can find you at Fatboy Slim with an I _21. That's on Twitter, but I know you're on Sports Blog. You got the Smitty Sports Machine, and you also got a show on Blog Talk. Tell us a little bit about that.
What we do, we try to have a special guest on every week.
Okay.
It's me, my two female co-hosts, Keisha Kelly and Sonia Dahl. And we just try to get a rock'em sock'em of sports and try to, give sports a new angle from my view and a female's point of view.
Yeah. I'm big on that.
Up a little bit.
Yeah, and tell me real quick, even before we even get to the rest of that part, but you working with two females, there was a big thing that was kind of circulating around the internet just last week with my girl Julie DeCaro of 670 The Score here in Chicago, where she was mentioning about all the backlash she takes for being a female woman in sports broadcasting. Is that something that your co-hosts deal with? Where they're dealing with guys talking them down and everything else and saying just awful things to them that you wouldn't say to your mother, let alone somebody you don't even know?
No, they don't do it. They don't do it to them, but I know them.
That's good.
They can hold their own, so I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about them at all.
Yeah, that's for sure. And so your show is on Blog Talk, right? Sunday 7 to 8?
Mm-hmm. Sunday 7 to 8 o'clock p.m. I would love for y'all to call in and talk to us.
Oh, yeah, I'm all about it, man. I might actually call in with that lady question. I might better prepare my question and get it out there so I can talk.
You better come with it because they're gonna be ready. Come with it.
That's for sure. Well, I'm down with that. Again, Antwon, man, we really appreciate your time and thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Anytime you want me to come on, I'll be available.
Fantastic. We got it. Maybe next time we'll make it all football. We'll talk all football with you. How about that?
Hey, I'm down.
You got it. All right. Well, thanks so much, Antwon. Again, Antwon Smitty Smith, our guy at Fatboy Slim _21, sportsblog.com with Smitty Sports Machine. Check that out. And when we get right back here on the Johnnie Bobbo Show on Late Night Sports Radio, we're going to talk to our guy, Jim Weidner of the FantasyGreek.com. We're going to break down this NFL draft even further. We're going to talk a little bit about the quarterbacks, talk about the Green Bay Packers, talk about the Minnesota Vikings, and we're going to be doing that all here on the Johnnie Bobbo Show, LateNightSportsRadio.com, and Spreaker app.
Second to keep breathing in a moment before it's gone. You never know when love is lost until you find just what it costs to be wrong. I wonder if you think of me passing by, you think you see me coming. I wonder if you pull me in, kiss me just one time again. Coming and the nights will keep on going till they're tired, falling fast are sleeping as they dream of ghosts of beats filled with desire. The trance of life is all around, a chance to take is always found. Oh, writing on the lullabies on the long and living life. Oh, in the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by your side. In the final hours of night, do you remember? Lost or found, love lying by
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
Welcome to the Johnnie Bobbo Show, latenightsportsradio.com, on your speaker app, on Stitcher. Man, you can find us anywhere you'd like, in particular on iTunes. Feel free, give us a rating. Give us a review. If you give us a review, maybe I'll find something to send your way. I'll get in contact with you, maybe send you some movie tickets or something like that. We're going to start doing things like that around here, I think, on the Johnnie Bobbo Show. We're start giving stuff away because that's what people like. People like to win things. So, if you want to give us a call, plenty of room for your phone calls. Give us a call, 585-633-7487, or give us a tweet at LN Sports Radio. And we talked to our guy, Crazy Joe, twice tonight because Crazy Joe is a great guy. But you know who else is a great guy? Our guy, Jim Weidner of thefantasygreek.com. How are you, Jim?
Good, John. How you doing?
Oh, absolutely fantastic, man. We've been dealing with so many Skype difficulties. Man, I'm going to burn them to the ground right now. They've been killing us between our draft night. Tonight it's been an issue, but it's fine. We make it work. We make the show fantastic, and that's why we're bringing you on, Jim. What are you up to tonight? Are you celebrating Cinco de Mayo?
No, I am not, actually. You know, father of two daughters, you don't get to do that too much, actually. So it's no alcohol tonight, unfortunately. It's putting my oldest daughter to bed, who fell asleep on the couch after we're done here. So,
oh, God, I know. I'm gonna have a sleepy, sweaty 6-year-old. I'm gonna have to carry to bed here once I'm done with the show. But we did what we could. You know what I mean? We made some tacos. Yeah. It is my 4-year anniversary today. It's my mother's birthday, who's an amazing person, and yeah, I got my margarita here. I'm drinking one. I'm nursing it. But yeah, no, nice. So yeah, a little bit of time that we gotta, I can enjoy myself here. But it was a bummer we couldn't have you on last Thursday for the draft night. Well, what was something that stood out as maybe the biggest surprise to you out of the NFL draft?
Well, the fact that Laramie Tunsil should be getting a lot of thank yous from military surplus stores for gas masks, I would guess. That would probably be the biggest thing. Unfortunately for him, to have your Twitter account hacked, quote unquote, on draft night, right? What was it? Just an hour before the draft started.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a surprise. Probably the biggest one, just in regards to picks, Tunsil sliding, but Joey Bosa free to the Chargers. That I didn't see that one coming. You and I talked a couple weeks ago, and I thought Bosa was more of a 4-3 defensive end, and the Chargers run a 3-4, and they're gonna stand him up some. They play a lot of sub packages where they'll be in nickel and dime packages where he'll have his hand in the ground, but even when your base defense is a 3-4, to ask somebody to drop into coverage, it surprised me a little bit, especially the fact with Jalen Ramsey still on the board and the both offensive linemen. I'd heard Ronnie Stanley's name mentioned there quite a few times leading up to the draft. So that to me was the biggest surprise, was the fact that besides the Miles Jack sliding out of the first round, those Bosa, the Tunsil situation, and Miles Jack sliding out of the first round totally. Those are the three biggest surprises that popped into my head when I was watching it.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you too. And I mean, we'll get a little bit later on to Mackenzie Alexander, because that was another guy I saw going around the first round. But even DeForest Buckner was there for him. A lot of the places I was seeing was, the Chargers were going with Jalen Ramsey, and like I said, he was there. They didn't go with him. But when you look at this, and we were just talking about, I don't think that the casual fan realizes how much weight actually comes from the NFL draft onto how these organizations are going to perform in that same year. Which one of these teams do you think helped themselves the most? At least in your opinion, with their draft.
The one that just jumps, off the top of my head is the Jaguars. I mean, to me, to get Ramsey in the first round, Miles Jack in the second, and I think Sheldon Day. I think it's Sheldon Day from Notre Dame went third or fourth round. I think. I mean,
yeah, he went.
This is a team. Okay, this is a team that is in dire need of winning. And Gus Bradley, he's a Zumbrota, Minnesota native, not too far from where I live. He's on the hot seat, and they have to get better. Blake Bortles has actually looked like he's going to be a decent starter in the NFL. So offensively, I think they're going to be okay. Defense has to get better, and I think they upgraded in the draft, especially, if Miles Jack plays 4 years before his knee gives out. I mean, that's 4 years that's going to save Gus Bradley's job.
Right.
But to me, I thought what they did was exceptional. I loved what the Browns did, and you can't say that too often. And when when they brought in the Moneyball guys, I'm not a big, even with baseball, the Moneyball thing. I think we get into statistics a lot, but it's something different in football. And I don't know if they really got into the Moneyball situation in with the draft, but what they did was what Bill Belichick does. He wants as many swings as he can. And to trade down, I think they traded eventually down to 15, and to get a wide receiver they had as their number one player on the board, I think that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And again, we're talking with Jim Weidner of thefantasygreek.com. You can find him at Jim Weidner51 on Twitter. And some of the stuff that I'm looking at here. I mean, you look at all the QBs that went in round one, or not necessarily round one, but went in the draft. How many of those quarterbacks do you expect to actually start week one?
I would say just Goff, just off the top of my head. I don't know if I think it's a lot to ask. I think Wentz is more pro ready than Goff, just because of the offense he played in. I understand that it's one double A at North Dakota State, but it was a more pro style offense. Now with Goff, he played in a spread, pass happy offense at Cal under Sonny Lubick, and to me, I know the Rams are going to start him from day one, but I don't know if he's ready. I really don't. And, for me, I would be more comfortable with Wentz starting, who I don't think will.
Really?
I don't think it's going to be Sam Bradford. I think it'll be Chase Daniels starting for the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah,
why do you think that is? Do you think that like Sam Bradford is just not going to be able to embrace his role as being the mentor, and it's going to make this thing more awkward? Or do you think they're going to get rid of him?
I think that eventually, I think he'll sit out now. Either, they'll sit on him or have to get rid of him. I first thought he might land in with the Jets.
Right.
That might be a landing spot, and it still might. I mean, you can't. You're going in with either Geno Smith, Bryce Petty, or Christian Hackenberg, who I'm not a fan of personally. I watched a lot of his games, watched a lot of Big Ten games, and he took huge steps backwards after his freshman year, and then you read a lot of things that he threw James Franklin, the Penn State coach, under the bus when he left the program, blaming him for a lot of his his regression, I guess, if you want to call it that. So to me, I can't imagine I think that Todd Bowles did a great job with the Jets. I think that you got to have a quarterback that is ready to play. And right now, there's 3 quarterbacks they have on the roster aren't ready to play. And I don't know what Geno Smith's thinking at this point. I mean, they drafted a kid. Ryan Fitzpatrick's still involved still in the conversation of coming back.
Right.
And obviously they don't want to start Geno Smith. So his future, I wouldn't be surprised if he was a training camp cut.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I mean, when you look at the Jets, such a sticky situation. I mean, they've openly, been talking about bringing back, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Do you think there's any point where they're actually able to meet that middle ground, bring a guy in there and take their time and go through and develop their guy right now? Because I mean, they drafted Bryce Petty in the 3rd round last year.
Yeah, I don't understand taking Hackenberg. I think what was it, second round this year,
Right.
with Petty going in the third round last year, and you still have Geno Smith. And I understand that it's a different regime that took Geno Smith, but you did spend a second round pick on him as well. And then you keep still talking about Ryan Fitzpatrick still in the equation. I just don't get it. To me, they have a veteran offense, and with Brandon Marshall there, and you're gonna play Hackenberg, play Geno Smith, play Bryce Petty. Ryan Fitzpatrick did a nice job last year, but is he really the answer? I mean, to me, I rather wait until the end of training camp and see if Bradford still hasn't shown up, and maybe get him and I'm not saying Sam Bradford's the answer either, but, compared to Ryan Fitzpatrick, I don't know. He might be an upgrade on that.
Yeah.
He's just got to lose. He's got to lose the punter shoulder pads is what he's got to do before he. I don't know if you watched him. He's just unbelievable. It looked like Tom Ruin punting for the Broncos back in the 90s with those shoulder pads that I wore back in youth football, but.
Oh, I love it. No, really. No, it's the truth, though. I mean, when you look at these guys, I mean, that's stuff you need to take into consideration when you look at the size. And I don't think, I guess maybe the hand size gets overrated. But, I mean, you do want a guy that's tall. He's able to see over his line. I mean, you looked at Peyton Manning when he threw. He was throwing off his feet. I mean, he had both feet off, in the air when he was throwing the ball half the time. And kind of moving it there to Denver. You look at Paxton Lynch. This is a guy, I thought it was a surprise that they moved up. You know what I mean? I thought they were comfortable where they were at, picking 31. But for whatever reason, I mean, they went up, they got their guy, Paxton Lynch, and there's a lot of things that, that John Elway and Gary Kubiak like. But I mean, who do they eventually, wind up rolling out there week one? Is it going to be Mark Sanchez, Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch? What's it going to be?
Well, to me, Mark Sanchez is going to, I would think, would be your week one starter. I mean,
right.
Paxton Lynch looks like a big athletic quarterback, but he played in a very spread dominant offense down in Memphis. To me, I don't know if he's ready. I think he looks really good. I watched one of his games late on a Saturday night once. He looks like a very athletic quarterback, and I think that see, this is the problem, that now they want to force feed these guys into starting right away, and they're just not ready, and they're going to regress terribly, or it's the situation where these guys just aren't prepared for it. I mean, why not? They've got the defense that won them the Super Bowl last year. It wasn't Peyton Manning, wasn't the offense. So why not just fly with Sanchez at least? If he's terrible midway and you're still involved with getting into the playoffs or winning the AFC West, then he can make a move. But at this point, right, you're just going to ask Sanchez not to make mistakes. And I don't have a problem with that. You let Paxton Lynch sit on the sidelines and learn. And I know they're actually high on Trevor Siemian. I think he's a Northwestern kid. So,
right,
maybe they float with him instead of Lynch if they do replace Sanchez. But I think week one you're looking at Sanchez lining up under center, and you're going to see a more run-orientated offense. Something like Kubiak ran down in Houston with Arian Foster, and even with Justin Forsett when he was the offense coordinator with the Ravens.
Yeah, and some of the teams that you cover, you covered the Green Bay Packers for the fanscreen.com. Obviously, big Minnesota guy, being from Minnesota. And now, were you born in Minnesota? Is that your hometown, or did you move to Minnesota?
I actually grew up in Austin, Minnesota. It's actually a little trivia here. It's the home of Spam. It's actually where it was founded and made. So yeah, I live currently in Rochester, which is now the home of the Mayo Clinic. So those are the two things famous for the places I've lived. So yeah. I grew up in Minnesota. However, I grew up a Packers fan. So go figure that one out.
Hey, no, that's all right. No, that happens to a lot of people. I mean, that's like, I see a lot of the Green Bay Packers fans here in Chicago, which is always weird for me to see, but I mean, it's a reality of life. We need to deal with it. I don't know how Trump feels about it, but it is what it is. But when you're looking at the Green Bay Packers, they had needs there at tight end, linebacker, defensive line, wide receiver. They go out there and do what they normally do. They drafted 2 defensive linemen, 2 offensive linemen, and 2 linebackers. What do you think overall about the Packers draft this year?
It was an interesting. I wrote for the Fantasy Greek that it should be coming out here. I did an overall evaluation of their draft, and it's a very Ted Thompson type draft. It's not very sexy. It was they were looking to upgrade the offensive and defensive lines, both needs for the Packers, especially offensive line. Their depth was horrible. Once David Bakhtiari went down, they were forced to start Don Barclay, who almost single-handedly got Aaron Rodgers killed. And to me, they had to upgrade it, and they Jason Spriggs from Indiana, they traded up in the second round to get him, an offensive tackle from Indiana, and I think that was a very good move on Thompson's part. The surprising part, and I don't have a problem with Kenny Clark. I saw him a couple of games in UCLA I watched on TV. Very athletic defensive lineman. He can play defensive end in their 3-4 or nose tackle, which with B.J. Raji retiring, they needed. But with Reggie Ragland and Miles Jack still on the board when they came up at the end of the first round, and to pass such a need, their inside linebacker play hasn't been good for a very long time. And to bypass that and to take defensive line was it was a little bit of a shocker. I mean, that to me was, I think Kenny Clark went where he was supposed to. And if I wouldn't have been shocked at all if they would have took him, there wouldn't have been any surprise if Ragland or one of the two would have been off the board. But with both still on the board, to bypass that, you're going to put extra pressure on a rookie defensive lineman, only 20 years old from UCLA. You're going to put a little more extra pressure now because you're going to see how, is Jack's knee, does it not get injured? Is he productive? Same thing with Ragland in Buffalo. So now you've got it's not that you're asking him to contribute right away. Now you're asking him to contribute more than those two linebackers for their team. So that was a little bit of a surprise. I thought it was a solid draft by him. I was a little surprised that they waited until the fourth round to again address the inside linebacker. They took the Martinez kid from Stanford. And it was the same thing they did the year before. They waited until the fourth round to draft an inside linebacker in Jake Ryan, who did play, but he looks, it's questionable in coverage, but he looks like he's a decent player. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how much Clark plays. Again, outside linebacker from Utah State, Feckle, Tyler Feckle, I think. And I like that pick. He's a true outside linebacker, played in 3-4 at Utah State. And usually what they do is when they draft an outside linebacker, it's a defensive end from college that they convert in outside linebacker. But I was happy that they actually drafted a true outside linebacker. And, Julius Peppers isn't getting any younger. Nick Perry, they just re-signed to a 1-year deal. So it'll be interesting to see how he turns out for him, the Utah State kids. So, not very... Yeah, and they got a tackle in the sixth round from Stanford, Kyle Murphy.
See? That's literally where I was going. That's literally where I was going because one of the things I was reading here was saying that was the guy that they picked up. He's their second Stanford pick out of the draft because they went with Blake Martinez, a linebacker that you were talking about in the fourth round, and then Kyle Murphy, the offensive tackle. And a lot of things I was saying that he's probably their best upside pick.
Yeah, and what they like to do is, if you look, the only true offensive lineman on the Packers that played the same position that he played in college is their center, Corey Linsley. Most of them, Sinton did. I think Sinton his last year at Central Florida did actually play guard, but during his freshman year he was a tackle. T.J. Lang was a tackle from Eastern Michigan, I think, that they converted to guard. So they like taking offensive tackles and converting them either into a guard or center, or they stay at tackle. They don't usually like to take guards and centers. Linsley was out of the norm for him, but Murphy, they might. That's the interesting thing. Bakhtiari, Sitton, and Lang, their contracts are up at the end of this year, so they're going to have to make some decisions. And their backup, their utility guy, who's pretty good, DC Treader, his contract's up at the end of the year. So Spriggs might be maybe next year their second round pick, Spriggs becomes their left tackle. They re-sign Bakhtiari to move into guard, let TJ Lang go or let Sinton go. So it's going to be interesting. And then Murphy plays a part in it too. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving to, the Minnesota Vikings, you look at what they've done in the draft the last couple of years. They've had 10 picks, total picks. And let's see, altogether 10 total picks out of the last 5 years, with 2013 being the only year that wasn't double digits. They had 9 that year, but they've been able to pull starters out of every one of those drafts. And in terms of backups, they've hit well the last couple of years with 6 of those guys. And you kind of look at some of the other guys where these guys either moved or are out of the league. It's a pretty low number for the Minnesota Vikings. So they've been drafting relatively well the last several years here. And a lot of things I'm reading, man, people are high about what the Vikings did. And you look at all that stuff, you put it together, and it seemed like the Vikings are really close. And so now, when you see Laquan Treadwell go 23rd overall, but in the first round there for the Vikings, is that the guy that finally launches the Vikings into that Super Bowl legitimacy and into that group of teams that you actually think can win it?
Oh, they're hoping. I mean, there's no doubt about it. They're hoping that he's the one to take that offense, their passing offense, to the next step, or the next step in there. That offense, no matter, while Adrian Peterson's still lining up in the backfield, that offense goes through Adrian Peterson. I mean, that's just the way it is. However, you've got to have some type of offensive weapons. Mike Wallace was a bust. The year before, Greg Jennings didn't do anything. Stephon Diggs was a nice find last year in the 5th round. He actually became the number 1 receiver, I think, when they finally started playing him, I think, week 3 or 4. So right. You've got, Stephon Diggs and now Treadwell, a big receiver. He's not a blazing, he doesn't have blazing 40 time. However, their quarterback can't throw a deep ball that well. So that's A-okay in their book. They've got a possession guy, a physical guy, a big guy who knows how to use his body to make catches. I think that they just need somebody especially for play action passing. I mean, it's not, it hasn't caught anybody by surprise. I mean, that's because they couldn't throw the ball. I mean, their number 1 receiving option last year, it was, Kyle Rudolph, even before Diggs. So to get somebody to play opposite Diggs, I think was important. You talked about, Jen, all the draft picks that they've had. And nothing to take away from Rick Spielman when he took over for Brad Childress. But I think a lot of that has to do with Mike Zimmer and his staff and how they coach these guys up. Mike Zimmer, to me, is, if you're a fan of anybody in the NFC North that's not a Vikings, if you're not a Vikings fan, you couldn't have been happy when they hired Mike Zimmer, because he's a good football coach. He's turned around that defense. It's really good. And now if Treadwell can bond with Bridgewater and Bridgewater can progress, that's a little dangerous, because their offense has been the weak link of that team, excluding Adrian Peterson. And that was only his first year last year, was playing with Bridgewater. He sat out the year before because of his off the field transgressions. So, it's a
dumbass. But go ahead.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's as a parent, that was putting that aside. Putting that aside. To me, it's an interesting deal. I mean, you keep, for the longest time, the Packers have been the top team in the NFC North. Now you've got the Vikings making headway, which should scare everybody. And I follow Jason Wilde, who writes for ESPN Wisconsin, and he talked about how they were all worried about John Fox, who's a good coach, but that he knows his stuff, and people should be worried about him taking over the Bears. Well, to me, fans of other teams in the NFC North should be more scared of what Mike Zimmer can do with that team, with the Vikings. So I think a lot of credit, should go to Rick Spielman, but a lot more should go to Mike Zimmer and his staff.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you too. I mean, they found guys that they've been able to coach. You know what I mean? And so that's what makes me excited. We talked right before, as soon as we started the segment, about Mackenzie Alexander. That's a guy where he somehow found his way into the second round after being graded out as a first round guy in quite a few draft boards that I was looking at. And what did they find in Mackenzie Alexander? Is that a steal for them, grabbing him in the second round?
I wrote that for the Fantasy Greek. It came out today, and to me that was a steal. I mean, You saw him slotted at the end of the first round. I think a popular spot for him was the Steelers. And watch him drop into the second round, where the Vikings actually didn't really need another cornerback. Right now they've got Xavier Rhodes, former first-round pick, Trey Waynes, who just finished his rookie season, first-round pick, an ageless wonder apparently in Terrence Newman, who I think I might have graduated the same year he did, and Captain Munnerlyn in the slot. So McKenzie, you get him in the second round. He's a first-round grade. And then he can actually sit and watch these guys play for a year or two, take over for Munnerlyn in the slot, and then eventually, they'll make a decision on Xavier Rhodes or Trey Waynes if he can't make the step. I think it was a great pick. I think that you look at Spielman's, I put it down into, I don't, I'm not Mel Kiper, but I don't think you can give draft grades to these guys until they play. You can do it 2 years down the road and give them a grade. To me, did you get good value? Did you reach? Or did you get a steal? With Alexander, you got a steal. And I think I had 2 reaches for Spielman and the Vikings. Willie Beavers and the tackle from Western Michigan in the 4th, and then the Bullrichter kid from Germany in the 6th. And both of those possibly could turn into steals, depending on what Zimmer and his staff does.
Yeah, no, and I'm with that. And see, you might not be, your standard Mel Kiper, but you do have a little bit of John Clayton in your voice, which I thoroughly enjoy because our guy Keith is Dr. Drew. Give us a little Dr. Drew. Can you analyze me here real quick, Keith?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. See, that's why I need to go into rehab.
See why John feels the need to go on.
I don't know. I used to watch a little bit of that Celebrity Rehab, and Dr. Drew didn't have that much success, so I don't know if you want Dr.
No, that's great. No, we love having you on again, Jim. And you said you did your write-up for the Minnesota Vikings. The Green Bay one's coming out here, and those are both going to be on the fantasygreek.com, and we can find you on the Jim Weidner 51 on Twitter. And man, I can't thank you enough, man. I love having you on, Jim.
Well, you call me anytime, John. I'm always available for you. So whenever you need me, just let me know.
Hell yeah. No, I'm in. I'm going to be keeping in touch with you, Jim. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And everybody, you got to check it out. Thefantasygreek.com, Jim Weidner, writing all that stuff up. We said, again, Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, and I'm sure you do a few other things because you're awesome like that. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, John. I appreciate it.
You got it. No problem. All right, there you go, Jim Weidner. And when we come back here on the Johnnie Bobbo Show, we're going to be talking to our guy, Bob Sullivan. He is done coaching baseball and molding and shaping the future of America.
My God, that's so scary.
Yes, it is, isn't it? But he's our guy. He's Bob. He's good. Bobbo loves helping kids out and making people better people.
Hey, I love Bob. I just wouldn't send my kids to him.
No, me neither. But it's okay. He might be able to teach him a couple things with pitching because he's a good pitching coach. But anyways, we're going to talk about that when we get back. Wait.
Oh, you said pitching with a P.
Pitching, yes, pitching. No, he bitches quite a bit, but pitching coach, he's great at it. But we'll get into that a little bit here when we come back from break on the Johnnie Bobbo Show on LateNightSportsRadio.com and your Spreaker app.
Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
¿Cómo estás? Welcome to the Johnnie Bobbo Show. And we are back. I'm Johnny Maloris. We got our guy, Bob Sullivan, and Keith Grieve with us. Bob Sullivan, this is your first forte onto the Johnnie Bobbo Show for the evening. How are you? And, man, I'm hoping you got a win tonight. What happened?
I've had the conversation on this show. I don't know, if, maybe not this show in particular, but I've had the conversation about how
here it comes.
Umpires suck, especially.
Of course they do.
One, this is just umpires, refs, all these, officials, whatnot. I know, the best thing to do is say, oh, they work hard, and they do for the most part, but they get paid. In the sports world, they get paid pretty well. Like the umpires get about $30, $40 an hour to umpire a 2-hour game.
Okay.
And, that's a pretty good chunk of change considering that's not what we make as coaches. Yet there's no penalty for if they're bad.
No.
If they're bad and you call them out as a coach, you get kicked out, or you get a phone call to administration, whatever it may be. You kind of have to walk a tight rope as far as that stuff goes. But we were in a game. We're up 2-1. The bases loaded with in the 6th inning, and a ball that's at least 5 feet foul is called fair. And how
does something that big, that's a big difference. That's a couple inches. You said 5-6 feet foul.
Yes, 5-6 feet.
Is it a crappy field where they can't see the lines? Like what's the excuse for that?
Nope, there was no excuse. This umpire just sucks.
You're gonna get fined, by the league, sir.
If I knew his name, I would say it on the air right now.
I know how that feels, dude. Because I put up $50 a game for our umpires, and they only got 3 hours. And like I said, it's semi-pro, fast pitch, wood bat, whatever. But come on, you've been doing this. You've been playing the game. You wouldn't be umpiring it if you didn't play it.
Well, it's not like it's it's not like it's early in the season. This is the last.
Right.
This is this game is not the game that we were playing tonight. It's
your last home game, right?
Yeah, it's our last home game of the high school season, and we start Legion baseball in a couple weeks. That's when we can actually play for state title and whatnot. But it's not like this is the first game of the year where it's an honest mistake. It's just an umpire being crappy at his job.
Yeah.
And, if it happens early in the game, you can kind of overcome it. But at that point in the game, it's a lot more, especially in a 2-1 baseball game.
Doesn't
I don't know what the fine rules are as far as Nebraska NSAA rules go, but
okay.
As far as criticizing officials and umpires, but if any of them are listening to this, I'm sure I'll be getting it.
But here's the thing, man. There's been so many times where I've seen a bad call almost deliberately made because somebody was trying to get the hell out of here. I can't tell you how many times the Chicago Blackhawks were still playing in the playoffs right now, and I just straight got fucked right in the ass by an umpire that was just trying to get out of here so he can make it to the bar on time to meet up with his buddy so he can watch a Blackhawks game. Dude, there are so many reasons for you not to screw a call just because you're trying to rush your way out of the game. There's no need for that. And that's the only thing is okay. So as the manager of the ball club that I work for, and all the other experiences that I've had within the game over the last, I'm 31, so 28 years, 27 years I've been playing baseball. Like it's so frustrating when there's a guy where it's like, you assume everybody has the same amount of respect in terms of everybody that's playing that game and everybody that's involved with it, from the umpires down to, the person keeping the scorebook. You expect everybody to, be truthful, do your thing. The ball players, you cheat when you can. You know what I mean? You ain't cheating, you ain't trying, yada, yada. But I mean, when it comes down to the umpires, you got to be on your game, man. You can't just be trying to rush your way out of somewhere or just blowing a call that's just blatantly wrong. You know what I mean? It's man, that's probably one of the most frustrating things.
I mean, you get it in every profession where, I get, some of the jobs I do, I just basically just punch the clock and don't do much and leave. So,
emotions, my man.
But I get the, just the people that just show up for work. I get that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like in a game, I feel bad. Well, I like coaching against the coaches that are just there for an extra paycheck. Like they're teachers that just want an extra paycheck and they're just, half-assing it as a coach.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, I like those coaching against them.
Yeah, they're easy.
Yeah, because those are easy.
On them. It
makes you look so much better in comparison. But you got to feel bad for those kids too, because they're the, then they have this coach that's just there cashing a paycheck.
They're not learning anything.
But on the flip side, with the refs and umps, like, a majority of them, some of them are bad at their job, but they love their job. So there's a couple umpires where they're just bad, and I'm just like, wish this guy wasn't here, but he loves the game. Then
you look at it like a slow person. You're like, yeah, you're trying. I'm going to give you credit. You're just bad at it. But, man, you're out there. You're trying, dude. You're doing a great job.
Yeah, he's giving an honest effort. And but then there's the old guys that are mailing it in. And it's like, strike me, you're out.
Oh, yeah.
No energy whatsoever. And then when they make a bad call, they get all up in arms when somebody calls them on it. Then that's when they get energy. It's like, well, if you had energy to start,
dude,
in this situation,
you hit it right in the head right there. Where you see zero fire, zero energy out of this person. They're basically in a lawn chair behind the plate. And I hate, as a catcher, let me tell you this. I hate it when an umpire puts his hand on my back. When I'm catching, you keep your hands off of me, damn it. I don't want to be touched by an umpire. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things. I just don't want it. You know what I mean? And no, that's the thing, man. All of a sudden, you call a guy out that's been lackluster all night, doesn't even care.
Yeah.
You call him out on something, and then all of a sudden he's all fired up and he's ready to throw you out of the game, and he's screaming in your face. You're like, man, where the hell you been? You just now are paying attention? Like, you just changed the channel now and got it, or what?
It's funny. I'm pretty, like I'll go. There's a couple umpires that I'll go have beers with, or there's a couple of, actually there's more than a few, but like opposing coaches where I'll be like, like I'll be pretty cool with them. I'll be coaching first base, talking to them during the game.
Right.
If you go over there and they don't look chatty, then I just leave them alone. But if it's some guy that looks pretty chill or something, I'll chit chat throughout the game. But
yeah,
one thing. A couple weeks ago, the coach for another team asked the umpire, he's like, "Was that ball high?" And the umpire was like, "Yes." And I don't want to hear another word from you again for the rest of the game on balls and strikes. And I was like, whoa.
Slow down, buddy.
And the other coach looked at me and I was like, man, that guy's got a problem.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So like, the rest of the game, like the other coach was asking me, he's like, hey, do you think that was high? I was like, oh, yeah, that was a terrible call. So like,
right.
You're a bad umpire you got confidence issues as an umpire when you're that quick to pull the trigger, and then the opposing team's coaches are making fun of you to your face.
Right. Yeah.
Like, are you going to toss both of us for making fun of you at the same time?
Right. And I don't think people get that. Like, in order to be an umpire, like, I'll give them this much credit. You got to have some kind of ego going for yourself. You know what I mean? You got to have confidence, got to have ego. You got to know what's going on and be confident in the calls you're making, because it's on you. You're going to take that heat if you goof up. You know what I mean? And some guys, they've been around it so long where, you deal with so many jerk coaches or jerk players that want to show you up or do this or do that. But you need to understand going into that game that, the people that, that you're umpiring that evening aren't necessarily the same people that have been jerks to you forever and been the bullies that are picking on you all the time going through high school. Like it's not what it is. You know what I mean? And it's hard for some of these umpires to get that.
Yeah.
At least at the amateur level. But you see at the pro level too, man. Look at Cowboy Joe West. He was notorious for that.
Yeah, Jim Joyce.
Yeah, another one.
My high school coach once got seatbelted. You know what that is?
No, please tell me.
He was jaw jacking at the umpire so bad he got ordered to not leave the bench.
Oh, we have that. We have that rule now in Nebraska. You get ordered to the bench and you stand up.
Okay.
I didn't get ordered. I haven't gotten ordered to that yet. But another thing that's
I can't see you taking too well to that.
When I coached, if there's a play at first base and the umpire's clearly wrong, if you're the third base coach and you're the head coach of the team, you don't really have a good angle at it. You can't really argue that. Right. And I can't tell you the number of times where an umpire's been wrong and the guy I'm coaching with is, either it hasn't registered with him or I'm fired up too quickly because
no, not you, Bobbo.
these umpires will be like, okay, we'll only talk to the guy who came to the home plate meeting, which is such bullshit.
It is.
What does that mean? So does that mean that it's not like I'm some guy just standing out there in jean shorts and a T-shirt, which I've coached against a guy.
They just pulled you out the crowd, bro.
Yeah, so it's like I'm standing there at first base and, maybe if you hadn't made a terrible call, I wouldn't have had to say anything. But, yeah, so that's where, I don't know. That I hate that rule, though.
I'm sure you do.
Have to be at the home plate umpire or home plate meeting to yell at the umpire, which is so stupid.
What's the worst insult you've ever thrown at an umpire?
The what?
The worst insult you've ever thrown at an umpire.
I can't wait to this.
The worst thing I've said is flip a coin.
Really?
Well, yeah. Well, what's the worst name, man? There's got to be something better than that.
I called umpires dipshits.
I once yelled at an ump that Helen Keller could have made that call.
The varsity coach, actually the guy who I had on my show to preview our season, the head varsity coach, the school I coach at, he last year he got tossed. He said, "We pay you guys $63 a game not to suck," and he got tossed for that. And it's funny because that's what they're actually getting paid, but it's funny that he got tossed for that. And after he got tossed later, like after the game was over, the base umpire thought the home plate umpire was terrible and said to the coach, he's like, "You were right on that, and that was hilarious what you said."
Man,
so now, that line has gone around Omaha. We pay you this X amount to not suck.
Yeah, and honestly, it's the truth too. And and the funny thing you brought up is, you talk about when you have the opposing coach where you guys, one of the guys agreed, said hey, this is an awful call, and you're on the other side trying to win the game. You're like, yeah, man, you're right, that was an awful call, and you both agree on it. It's even worse when the other umpires undermine you like that. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. And I try to make buddy with the umpires. You know what I mean? I try to make buddy with everybody, but with the umpires, you got a little something on the line. You know what I mean? You understand these people are easily influenced to some degree. I don't know. I'm sure if you threw an extra $20 at one of these guys, they'll shine, the light upon you a little bit, brighter. But when it comes down to it, man, when the other umpire is saying, yeah, man, that guy made a bad call right there. He's been awful all night. You know what I mean? It's all right, well, what the hell? Who can I bitch to about this? I got your other umpire that's out here watching you umpire saying that you suck at doing what you're doing, But I do have a lot of buddies that are umpires, so I'm not going to wreck them all. But, man. One of my favorite people, Gino Morawski. Shout out to Gino Morawski. I hope you're floating around and having umpiring some baseball games right now because you kicked ass and your son's an awesome guy. But go ahead. Sorry, I just had to get that. I love that guy.
There's last year there was a team I coached that we didn't have a catcher. that could do his job. So
That's
there
tough,
would be
dude. That's a tough spot.
19 pass balls a game. But
yeah, nothing else.
This story comes full circle. So this umpire got hit like 6 times, and I was walking by him. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, I'll buy you a can of chew after the game. I'll buy you a beer. I'm sorry, because he's just getting beat up, and he's like, don't worry about it, man. It's part of the job. And I was like, no, I got you. So I bought him a can of chew, bought him some beers after. A few games later, we have him again. He gets beat up again. I was like, I got you again. So I got him another can of chew, another thing of beer. Later in the year, we're in the district championship game.
Oh, no.
And we have him behind the plate, but we have a catcher this time. And so, I'm like, oh, Cody, how's it going? And he's like, hey, what's up, Bob? Then there was a controversial interference call at the plate in a 1-1 ball game that went our way.
Okay.
And so I was like, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, those 3 times that I bought him chew and bought him beer for making up for what happened early on, I got the feeling that he's just like, you know what, this guy, if this guy takes care of me, I'll take care of you. So there's not all bad with umpires. And then I've seen him like out in public since where I'm like, Cody, what's up? And he's like, man, I haven't had any of your games this year. I was like, yeah, I know.
He says, what the hell?
He's like, it's kind of a double-edged sword because I don't have 15 bruises, but I also don't get as much chew or drink or any beer. So
yeah, but I mean, like, honestly, when you break it down, if you're really going to look at it and make yourself feel like a bad guy for being the recipient of a favorable call, you got to think, man. We grew up, especially me, with a lot of guys that are umpiring now. Like I'll run across guys where I'm still playing baseball, and I got guys I went to high school with and played ball with that are umpiring at this point. You know what I mean? And like I'm still out there, and so you have that little bit of a relationship. I don't think you should feel bad about that because, most of these guys are going to be as objective as they possibly can. You know what I mean? It's the borderline calls where you do that when you're at the plate. You go out there, especially me, I'm behind the dish, and I'll be talking to the umpire. And then when I go up there to the plate, it's always kind of that, one of the unwritten rules within baseball. I mean, Brian McCann, I don't know how much he would like this or not, even though he's the chief of the baseball police, but he is a catcher. Where you kind of have that rapport with the umpire that's behind the dish, calling the balls and strikes. And then you get that, that borderline 0-2 pitch, and I got a good strike zone. Okay, I'm not going to sit out there and look at a pitch that's going to be strike 3 on me. You know what I mean? But if I do look at a strike 3 call and I get rung up on it, I'm going to bite my tongue. But man, I'm going to give a hard look when I get back to that dugout and put my stuff away at that umpire. Like, dude, come on, you got to give me the benefit of the doubt. And like you said, that guy got beat up. Cody got beat up for a couple games. For me, I'm thinking, all right, here, I protected you all this time. I'm not a jerk. I don't fart behind the dish. Like, I don't stink. You know what I mean? Like, there's no problems. I'm a good guy to you. We have a friendship. And you're going to ring me up on a pitch that was more than likely a ball. Just knowing my strike zone, knowing what a hitter I am and what a good guy I am. And you're going to go the other way on that? All right, well, now I kind of don't like you. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those situations. It's tough. It's tough, man. Baseball's fun, though. Is it not?
Well, the worst is when an umpire admits that he missed a... like when he's like...
Yeah.
He calls a ball on a curveball, like a 1-2 curveball or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then the next pitch gets hit, and then he comes over to the dugout. He's like, I'm sorry, guys, I missed that curveball. And it's like, oh, thanks for telling me now after it cost us 3 runs.
There's a few times where I don't want to hear that.
No.
I've heard it plenty, but and then like I said, that's umpires you have a good relationship with. But man, there's sometimes where I was just like, dude, you did not need to tell me that right now. It makes me mad at you that I know that after the fact, especially when I saw it happen, Yeah.
Well, when you played, I assume you played high school baseball, right?
Yeah. I played high school, and then as soon as I got out of high school, I started my own ball club.
Okay, so in high school, did you guys have to go play? Like, I don't know what Illinois is really like. Is there podunk towns or kind of trashy towns?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
like you get like anywhere over 35 minutes, 40 minutes out of the city with standard traffic. The further you go, you're running into issues and, you know, two sets of teeth and cross-eyeds and all sorts of things.
Well, so like in Chicago, you get pretty much the best of the best as far as umpiring goes, because it's like
me.
Well, not best of the best, but you're going to have obviously the best umpires are going to be
There's a larger sample size.
Yeah, there's a larger sample size, and there's not really, there might be some skewed stuff like South Side, East Side, West Side, whatever.
And in Chicago, we're corrupt, so.
Very true, yeah. Rahm Emanuel, cleanest man around. But my thing is
governor after governor.
So there's two organizations in Nebraska for umpires. One that's based out of Omaha, one that's based out of Lincoln, and then pretty much it's kind of a coin. Like if you're not playing a game in Omaha or Lincoln, you're running the risk of having some very hometown calls called against you, like whether you go in Blair, Waverly,
That's not right, Well,
I understand that's not right.
Yeah.
I'm not being biased towards Omaha umpires, but I'm saying like
still though.
These umpires, they're buddies with the coach in town or whatever it may be. Like, so like, I mean, yeah, like obviously my new buddy Cody, who is an umpire, lives in Omaha, but as far as like, you go to, whatever city you go to, you're gonna deal with umpires, and it's just the way of, like, no umpire from Omaha is going to go travel to the Panhandle for a $60 game.
Right.
But
wasting your gas, bro.
Yeah, you're losing money.
$20.
But so that's what you're dealing with in these small towns. It's not like there's definitely a skewed favoritism because they don't want, like, if they go to work on Monday and they have to hear about how, their buddy's son struck out on a bad call from the umpire, they don't want to hear that. So they're going to call it against the team from Omaha. And plus, you got these small town complexes where it's like, everything against Omaha, everything against Lincoln. It's just unbelievably skewed.
Man, sounds like it chaps your ass. You seem like you're on fire, man. You seem very depressed right now. It kind of breaks my heart. I mean, it's tough dealing with losses, ain't it?
Well, it is. Well, especially just, it's just, if I would have had like an hour, if I had an hour to decompress and drink, I'd be in a good spot right now. But I had, having to come straight from the field. That's why during summer and, in season is tough for me to do these shows because it's just like I get into especially on a game day because I just get into the game. Yeah. I sound like a loser, but that's just the way.
Hey. Dude, it's all good. Do you have any idea how difficult it's been for me to understand? Like, okay, dude, I love teaching the game, love teaching the fundamentals, and I've always been so diehard against, not keeping track of scores and blah blah blah. Come on, it's baseball, be tough. But man, I'm coaching these 6-year-olds. Man, like I'm super competitive, and like you got to keep that stuff in check. You know what I mean? In terms of like yelling at the kids or whatever. Like the only yelling that I've done to this point has been to tell kids to like, hey, pay attention, stop tackling each other and kicking each other. You know what I mean? Like it's all been about that. It hasn't been like, for whatever reason, me coaching the T-ball kids, I've been able to set aside my whole competitive edge, that I have to myself, and I've just been like, hey, I'm almost going to try to talk to you nice and help you teach you and, so you can learn the game. Because, man, it is difficult. Because I even get that now where people are like, oh, man, they don't even keep score. You know what I mean? After they ask me what the record, and I'm like, oh, no, we don't keep score, bro. And they're like, oh, come on, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, baseball is so damn complicated. And being 6 and not knowing any of that stuff and then trying to, like, learn it all at once. I mean, man, there's no way you can keep scoring those games because you're still trying to pump their egos up because they're little kids. You want them to stay interested in playing the game. And then you also want them to learn the fundamentals and how to do things properly. But, I mean, just as a coach with adults, I need to learn what buttons to press on certain adults and how they're going to receive a message. Some guys got a kick in the ass. Some guys you got a pat on the ass. You know what I mean? It's that touchy of a thing. And you got to know what that is for each guy. And, you know, you can go through as many tests as you need. But with the kids, man, it's all just pat them on the butt, man. Like, you know, pat them on the tush, teach them what's going on. You know, make it all clear for them and help them understand it and find little, you know, I don't know, little connections, you know, little things where they can understand in their tiny little brains that absorb everything. You know what I mean?
Well, and they hear everything, repeat everything you say too.
Oh yeah, my favorite is Matthias. He hears us say stuff like he'll look like he's not even ever paying attention, and then all of a sudden you'll say something and he'll be like repeat it and you like look at you and he'll smile and I'm like, man, you've been listening this whole time.
Well, I'm coaching 14, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids.
That's got to be tough.
It
Not
is.
so much?
No, I mean, you know, there's a kid, you know, I try to keep it loose enough that, you know, it's like, okay, you know, like if we lose I try to keep the season in segments, not get too mad if we lose a game early.
Yeah, dude. That's my big thing. Even with my guys, I try to keep everything upbeat as possible.
But then there's a certain point where I'm like, okay, this is where we buckle down in the season. This is where, you know, no more, we can't have more lax. We can't lose our focus in the game.
It's time to flip that switch.
Yeah. And, you know, for the most part, in this is my 5th year, my 5 years, 3 of them, it's worked when we flipped it. Well, 1 year we just steamrolled everybody, and then the last 2 years,
that was fun as hell.
Yeah, we didn't have the last 2 years we haven't had the talent we did that 1 year, but
yeah,
they've been good at flipping that switch and listening to me. But I, you know, in a couple other years where I've gone and helped coach like a 4 to 6 year old team during the fall or winter. Man, you talk about humbling yourself as a coach.
Oh, my. That is a fact.
I mean, you think like a high school kid not giving a crap about what you say. You talk about 15 of these little bastards not giving a shit about anything you say and not knowing what you're saying either.
Right.
And
that's the thing about We Bear Bears. In the meanwhile, like you're trying to keep them from getting hit in the face with a line drive. You know what I mean?
And you can't like I'm always on that fringe of where I'm just going to be like,
yes.
Like where the kid's like, he just keeps talking about stuff that's not baseball. It's like, would you shut the hell up? But you can't say that, or you want to.
Especially not today. I mean, it might be different in Nebraska, but man, out here, like where I'm teaching, it's like highfalutin. You know, I'm afraid to like touch the kid to adjust his hips as he's trying to hit the ball off the tee.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like I don't want to get sued right now because some overprotective mom in yoga pants is going to get salty about this right now.
Yeah, I'm mostly just. I mostly talk it through, but I'm just I'm the same way where it's like, watch out for. Expect a lawsuit on anything. So that's how I.
Exactly. And Bob, God bless you, sir. I am incredibly happy that you were able to join us tonight. This was
I missed the NBA
really fun at the end of the show.
Yeah, this is a good time.
Yeah, that's what we do here. Do good times. Yeah, and we're being rushed off because we got a jet. But, man, let me tell you something. Thank you so much to everybody that came on tonight. We had some phenomenal guests. First of all, starting off with our guy, John C. Victor, at JC Victor on Twitter. Also, listen to the chatting average. You can find it on Facebook. You can find it on Twitter. Go do that. You can also talk to our guy, Antwon Smitty Smith, Fatboy with an I Fatboy Slim, I for the boy, _21, sportsblog.com, Smitty Sports Machine. Also the show on Blog Talk, Sundays 7 to 8. 2 female broadcasters. We're going to be talking to them relatively soon because there's a lot of all things that are said to female broadcasters in the world. But also Jim Weidner, our guy of the fantasygreek.com. Check him out, Jim Weidner, 51. Bob Sullivan, we love you, man. We can find you at the Bob Sullivan Show on Twitter. Keith Grieve, you find him at Keith Grieve, right? You're at Keith Grieve on Twitter?
Oh, yes.
Yes, and we can do that. You can also find me on Twitter at MALIORIS, Maloris. Check it out right there. Find the Johnnie Bobbo Show Facebook page because that thing is freaking hilarious. And thank you, everybody, for calling. Crazy Joe from Pennsylvania. Buddy boy, we loved you. You called us twice. You're the best, dude. We'll definitely be talking to you soon. And everybody, find this show, like it, give us a review, and if I like your review, maybe we'll send you some movie tickets because that's what's going to happen. That's happening right here on the Johnnie Bobbo Show. Thank you all, calling, texting, doing your thing. Keith Grieve, you're the best. Bob, you're the best. Everybody, be good.